So I asked my Twitter followers to rate all the skins from current expansions rewards track by tier they believe each skin belongs to in a tier list maker that I made online. I got some data from them, I processed it, and I got some pretty shocking results. Keep watching. Hello, fellow gamers. My name is Emerald Boa. My chat calls me M. I stream Hearthstone on Twitch TV, and in this video, we're going to do some skin rating business. Yes, that's right. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm all about aesthetics. I love Hearthstone skins. I love the card backs, the card arts, even the card voice lines, everything. So I decided to try and engage my community into skin rating, and I made a tier list maker for the 10 skins on current expansions rewards track. I posted the link to this tier list maker on my Twitter, and I asked my followers to submit their own ratings of these skins by the tiers they believed each skin belonged to. People did respond, I did get some data from them, and after processing the data, I got some really shocking results, as I mentioned before. So we're gonna talk about that now. But before we go into that, I first want to discuss the methods and the math that I used to process the data and get those results. So if you're not interested in knowing the methods that I use and the math, you can feel free to skip to the next part of the video where I talk about the results. The timestamps are in the description. So onto the methods now. As you can see in these pictures, this is the format in which I received the data. Unfortunately, I had a small sample size of only 29 entries, but some of the results I got are so convincing that I dare assume they'd still be valid even with bigger sample sizes. I made Excel charts to help me calculate how many votes each skin got for each tier. I will show you what I did on example for one skin. Let's assume these are the charts for Sylvanas' skin. Now note that these are not the real results, this is just something I'm using as an example. So let's say that 5 people voted that Sylvanas is S+ tier, 10 voted S, 6 voted A, and so on as shown in this chart. So this is the number of votes that people gave Sylvanas for each of these tiers. Then what I did is I assigned a multiplier to each tier. The better the tier, the higher the multiplier. For example, S+ is 6, S is 5, and so on, D is 1 being the lowest. What I did next is I multiplied the number of votes for each tier by the respective multiplier. For example, here it would be 5 times 6 for S+ tier, 10 times 5 for S tier, and so on for the rest of the tiers. Now the scores I would get by multiplying these are shown here. I named it tier score, and you can see what would the values be. So what I did next is I added these tier scores together, and I got the final result, which is this number here. And now I divided this number by 29 because that is the number of entries that I got. And the final result is this number here, which is closest to number 4. And 4, as we can see in the chart, represents A tier. So we assigned A tier to this skin based on all the votes that it got across all tiers. So I did this for every skin, and this is how I got the average tier for each of the 10 skins on the rewards track. Alright, on to the results now. I will represent them in ascending order, starting from the very worst one by the opinion of my Twitter followers, all the way to the best one. But I want to note that I had a very small sample size, as I mentioned before, 29 entries, so I would take all of these results with a grain of salt. Although I got very convincing results for the best 2 skins, so the first 2 spots, and the very worst skin, so the last spot. The vast majority of people agreed on these, so I would dare to assume that these would stand even with bigger sample sizes. P.S. You will never guess which skin is in spot number 8. Okay, number 10, and the worst skin on this expansion's rewards track by my Twitter community's opinion is... You probably guessed it. Scullery Namzi. As you can see here, 72% of people rated her in C and D tier, which are the lowest tiers. 55% of that being D tier, which is the worst tier in this tier list maker. Her average tier is C because she got some higher ratings as well. So the average tier is C, but her score, her overall score, is the lowest. So she's number 10. Sorry, Namzi fans. Seems the majority of my community doesn't like Namzi, or they simply don't like the skin. Next one, and number 9, is, can you guess it? Margot Holmes. Its average tier is B. I've nothing much to say about this. Next one, you can never guess. If you want, you can pause here, take some time, and try to guess which one this is, because I really didn't see this one coming. This one was shocking for me. So, number 8 is Venthyr Liadrin. I hope I pronounced that properly. Personally, I expected her to be a lot higher on this list, and it seems that Blizzard did too, but I will talk more about that in a bit. For now, I'll say that her average tier is B. Next one, and number 7, is Ardenweald Lunara. Her average tier is also B. Personally, I'm not a fan of this skin. I would rate her lower, but my community said she was tier B, so who am I to argue? Number 6 is, and I'm sure you can guess this one, it's Songstress Arana. Her average tier is also B. Personally, I like this skin better. I would rate her higher, but again, people said what they had, so I won't interfere. Moving on to the top 5. It's getting a little tense now. By the way, if you're enjoying this video and if you would like to support my work and content creation, consider subscribing. It's absolutely free. It helps me out a ton. You'd be a real sweetheart if you did it. And you could always undo it later if you ever wish to, so please think about it. Okay, back to number 5. It is, I think you can guess it as well, Suspect Maiev. Its average tier is A, although its score was on the very borderline between being A and B, and that is from the data that I got from this small sample size of 29, and I believe a bigger sample size would definitely place it in one or the other of these tiers, and maybe even in a totally different tier, but by my data, it ended up being in A tier. I kind of agree it's A tier. Would you agree? Next one, the infamous spot number 4 is Reveler Kil'Thas. Its average tier is A, and I personally like this skin. I think I would also place it in A. Maybe I would place it a bit higher or in between A and S. Now the final 3. You can pause if you wish and try to guess in which order they come. You know which ones they are based on what's been eliminated so far, so you can try to guess the order, and this one will be a bit shocking because it will reveal which 2 are the best ones. Number 2 being particularly shocking to me, at least. So, number 3 is Prince Renathal. Its average tier is A, and I wouldn't really agree with this one. I like the skin better. I placed it in S+ tier. But on the other hand, A is still a high tier, and I'm happy that my community actually liked this skin enough to place it there. So now on to the vice champion and the champion. We've got Sylvanas and Tyrande left, and I think you can guess which one is which, but still, it's pretty shocking to me at least. Number 2 is Kyrian Tyrande. Her average tier is S. Honestly, I expected her to be way lower on this scale. I heard comments from the people in my Twitch chat, and just the fact that people hate Priest for some reason, because that is a fact, people hate Priest, right? So, based on that fact, I really didn't expect her to get this high, but I personally loved the skin, and seems that the community loved it too. As I said, I expected her to be rated much lower, but instead 72% of people rated her S+ and S together. Again, 55% being rated S+ tier. I'm personally very glad that people saw this with the same eyes that I did. And now, of course, the winner is already known, but let's say it. Number 1 is Sanguine Sylvanas. Her average tier is S. She got over 83% votes in S plus and S tier, 45% being in S plus and 38% in S. This is by far the most convincing result that I got. This is definitely the most valued skin on the rewards track by the opinion of my Twitter community. I'd like to point out that apparently my community didn't completely agree with Blizzard. Let me elaborate what I mean by that. If we assume that for the level 100 on the rewards track, they chose the skins that they believe are the best, because this level is the last level and it's the hardest to reach, I assume they would put the skins they believe are the best as a reward for this level. And the skins that are there are Kael'thas, Liadrin, and Sylvanas. And although my community agreed on Sylvanas, absolutely, and they more or less agreed on Kael'thas, it ended up being tier A, so it agreed there. What about Liadrin? She ended up in the 8th spot. She ended up in B tier. That doesn't quite align with Blizzard's expectations. We can say that this is because of my small sample size of only 29 entries. But honestly, personally, I believe, now this is not the data, this is just my personal belief, is that even if we had bigger sample sizes, she wouldn't get much higher than where she is now. I think she wouldn't get to S tier, where apparently Blizzard seems to have placed her. So I find this interesting and a bit shocking. The skin that is rated kind of low by the community is actually a reward for the hardest level on the rewards track. So you work so hard to get the skin that is not that much appreciated. Although, again, you get 2 other skins that are, so I guess that is fair. I would like to point out that it seems like my community and Blizzard agreed on another thing, and that is which skin is the worst, which skin is the least desirable, and it seems to be Nemsy. Because if we made this assumption that the best skins would be the hardest ones to get, the level 100 skins, then it naturally aligns with that logic that the first skin to get, the easiest one to get, would of course be some skin that is least valued, and it seems to be Nemsy. It seems that both my community and Blizzard agree that Nemsy is the worst skin on this rewards track. I'm sorry, Nemsy fans. There's nothing I can do about it. It's the data, it's the Blizzard's assumption as well. That's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would like to know if you agree or disagree with these ratings, what your opinion is, what your thoughts are. You can let me know down in the comments. I would appreciate it. Again, my name is Emerald Boa. Thank you so much for watching till the end. You are fabulous. Good luck in Hearthstone.